Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of LunarCrush Live. Today, we've got the team from Chainge here. And before we get to that, just a disclaimer, as always, we do not take payment for our live streams. We bring on fun people and builders in the community that have dedicated their lives to crypto. I think we've got a team like that right here. Make sure you guys get in the comment section, ask questions. If we see some good ones, we'll try and get them to the team towards the end there. And then hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of fun streams coming up here over the next couple of weeks, so we're excited to get to that. But with that, we got a whole crew on here today. Thank you guys so much for being here, DJ, Vlad, and Oana.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. And John, dude, you're the best. 50 streams in 2 days. Love for you guys to talk a little bit. We always like to start with like where you are in the world and what's it like there. I'm not sure you guys are all in the same place or not, but maybe DJ, you can start us just a little quick intro of who you are and where in the world you are and what's it like there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here. And my name is DJ. Actually, I have been in crypto industry for over 8 years. It's quite a long time, right? And I started with building the Bitcoin mining chips, but actually I started a couple of different projects, including VChain, Qdom, Fusion. Those are the public blockchains. But today, actually, I'm working as the CEO for Chainge.finance. We're trying to build a kind of interface for the Web 3.0, so that we can help everybody to use the DeFi easily. So that's the target.
Very, very cool. And Vlad, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, my name is Vlad. I'm working at Base as product designer. I'm in the blockchain space for about 6 years almost, but I've been working on other industries before. We started Chainge last year, and since then, yeah, we achieved a lot of things together as a team. And yeah, at Chainge, I'm working as a product designer, user experience. I'm the CPO of Chainge, and yeah, doing a lot of things around.
I'm
happy
sure
to be
you're
here and
very
happy to
busy.
share more things about pretty much.
Yeah. And then Oana, tell us about yourself.
Well, I guess I'm the youngest in the crypto sphere here. I've only been in this wonderful, amazing ecosystem for about 2 years, and I've started working with Chainge about a year ago. I'm Chief Brand Officer, so pretty much I do everything branding related. My background is mainly in the advertising field, so I've been in advertising for roughly 10 years, I guess. Almost. Oh my God, that's a lot. And I don't know. I've pretty much enjoyed the ride, because it's been wild. Yeah.
I'm sure. And yeah, 2 years is still a pretty long time actually in the industry. If it's not very old. So I think between the 5 of us here, we've got maybe some of the most experience that you could probably get in the cryptocurrency industry. So it should be pretty fun. So
1 or 2 years in crypto is just, you're a veteran now. So
yeah, that you're a full-on veteran, in my eyes.
I'm curious, what was that transition like, working 10 years in advertising and then moving into crypto? What are some of the differences that you've experienced?
Oh my God, this was quite a shock. When I first made that leap from working for the usual corporate client, and then jumping on a crypto startup and getting into the DeFi world, like everything immediately changed. Like for starting from social media way of communicating, the tools we use, the way people respond, the way, you know, if we have market studies and how different those are, everything has changed like 90 degrees. I did not even know what hit me, and I'm still learning stuff like every day.
Totally understand.
Do you
Yeah,
sleep at night, Oana?
Yeah,
Right?
it's definitely a different process for growth in this industry. You know, users are in a completely different place, and you can't just do the traditional thing where it's a lot of folks. I mean, there's entire industries that are just run on like Facebook ads, and it's like that's not going to work.
No.
So you got to rethink it. So DJ, you know, you said VChain, you said Qtum. I mean, these are some of the, you know, older projects in the industry. You know, and it's like we know that VChain community is super strong. You know, we were posting about them a long time ago. Know a lot of folks over there. You know, why this kind of move to change that finance? I mean, kind of blockchain oriented, kind of validation, a lot of kind of hardcore stuff going on here to now more kind of, I would say, like retail or user facing. Did you see a problem and say, hey, this is where we got to go now? This is my next kind of iteration in my career here?
You know, it's very it took me a very long time to understand the industry of blockchain. So from the very beginning, actually, I built a kind of money chip for Bitcoin, but you know, 8 years ago, I even didn't know what blockchain can do. But steadily, I started to know that when I speak to the institutions like PwC or IBM. Actually, I worked for IBM for about 12 years previously. But you know, steadily I found there are a lot of things blockchain can do. For example, we can use blockchain to do something for the supply chain, like anti-counterfeiting or something. So that's the reason we built the project like VChain. But steadily, you know, in 2016 and 2017, that's the start of Ethereum network. So that's the reason we built the project Qtum, because we want to build a kind of virtual machine on top of the UTXO model. But steadily, you know, I got to know that the nature of the blockchain is the internet of value. It's what we call it, the Web 3.0, and the finance is the core. That's why I try to build something underlying to support the entire Web 3.0 industry, and that's how the public blockchain fusion comes. And now we are trying to build a kind of application everybody can use. Today, even Facebook, they changed their name to name it Matter, right? And we are trying to build something everybody can use, can get into the world of Web 3.0. That's the reason we are building Chainge.
Yeah, so you'd say it's your original stuff was Web 3.0 infrastructure, which would be Web 3.0 maybe .A, and now we're at this next iteration, which is like, hey, we're building the next layer that is needed to transfer value.
Yes, exactly.
What are some of those issues that you see? I mean, if this is so user focused, what are some of the things that you see that are currently problems in DeFi? And this is more of maybe a product design question, but like, what are some of the things that people are experiencing?
I think one of the most important problem existing in today's blockchain world is the crushing, because you know there are a lot of public blockchains out there, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, and even today Solana, Avalanche, and you can name it. Maybe hundreds and thousands of public blockchains, and some of them they have a huge community, but you know they are isolated today, just like the financial systems today. Every banks, they run their own systems, but they are not connected. They are using some middleman like Swift or some other institutions to connect them together. So the most important problem we are going to solve is the the interoperability. So we've been talking about this for over 3 years, but today, that's the reality, and that's the problem we have solved. And I think over 80% or even 90% of the cross-chain transactions are being built on top of the Fusion DCRM technology, including AnySwap, multi-chain, Phantom, and they are all using a Fusion DCRM technology. And the Chainge is trying to upgrade it into a cross-chain roaming feature, which means users, they even don't need to worry, or they don't even to concern on which chain their assets are on. They just need to focus on the operation itself, the features itself, how to earn money, how to play with different protocols. That's the most important thing they need to focus on.
That's huge. I mean, I don't think people realize how big of a deal that is, because it's like, I was just talking about this yesterday. It was like I was showing my friend how to use like Wormhole on Solana, and they're moving, something over, and then they go look at that transaction on Etherscan, and it literally says black hole. Yeah. Like it says black hole is where it goes into the bridge, and it's like, I couldn't think about a worse user experience for someone coming into the industry for the first time, and when they send something like, "Oh, just check if it went to the black hole or not." It's insane.
Yes.
No, and since you mentioned about user experience, though, this is the other thing we are trying to solve with Chainge, and this is also at the core of why we built Chainge. Because if we compare what blockchain is doing to finance today to what internet was doing to everything back in the 90s, I think we are in the same pattern, right? Because the reason why internet really took off 20 years ago was actually by solving two issues: user experience and speed. User experience meant, when browsers came up and operating systems came up and allowed actually the people to actually use something really complex in the back end, but in a visual way. So it was very simple just to click here and there and do different operations, just from a user perspective. Now we have blockchain and we have finance, and we have crypto and DeFi and all the other tools and instruments which are built on top of it. But, crypto is just a couple of years old, but actually we are facing the same problems, in my opinion. I mean, we have a user experience problem, and we have a cross-chain and interoperability problem, which DJ mentioned before. User experience because, it's so difficult probably today, especially for the new people in crypto, to actually move an asset from a chain to another. We have so many protocols, we have so many chains, we have so many assets, right? And it's pretty difficult. So if you have USDT on a different chain, then the next question comes up and say, okay, how do you move it out from Ethereum? Okay, you go to use a bridge. Fantastic. How do you use the bridge? Which is the user experience of the bridge? How expensive is to use that bridge? How fast it is to use it, and so on? Or how many other third parties you have to put into that process in order to do that simple operation, right? So this is, it's just a very basic example, but probably it's maybe clear enough for what Chainge is trying to do, among others. And yeah, people who are using Chainge today are just able to roam different assets between the different chains in a very, very simple way. And this is not it all in when it comes to user experience. We are trying to do it as simple as possible for the user, just to feel that they have an app in their pocket, which is crypto related, which is DeFi, which is finance, and has a lot of financial instruments on top of it. So again, in my opinion, and I think this is also the core of Chainge, is that as long as we solve the user experience problem in the blockchain space, we can take it to another level. Chainge can do it, or other apps or competitors can do it, but as long as user experience is not to the highest level, adoption, it's pretty difficult to come in.
And yeah, would you say we're at the 14.4, 28.8, or 56.6 part of blockchain with regards to speed? I don't know if you guys are old enough. Everyone's got to be old enough to know the modems. 14.4, 28.8.
I used to dial up on my modem, and my mom would pick up the phone. It would hang up the internet. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sound, you know.
I feel like
Yep.
we're just almost on the cusp of like the first kind of like that broadband, when you got broadband for the first time and like it was fast. Like we're gonna get there soon. But like Vlad, I love that example of like speed and UX. Like we talked to hundreds of people, and it's like I feel like we're having the same conversation over and over again. Like, when will speed get there? When will the experience get there? And like it's good to hear that you guys are focused on those two things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of I kind of agree more because when Ethereum started to boom in 2016 and 2017, actually I had a very intuitive idea that we want to build a kind of escrow smart contract so that even strangers, they can do business with each other. But today, even today, there are no escrow smart contract out there which has been used by a lot of people. I think the biggest problem is that the user experience really sucks. You need to if you want to create a kind of escrow smart contract, you need to write code, and you need to input the address of the other people. But if let's think about that. If we can improve the user experience into a better level, which means you can click some user in your contacts, and then you input some parameters. You click a button, then boom, the smart contract created, and you can put the digital assets in the escrow smart contracts as the collateral, so that you can do business with some other people. These can be used for the international trading. It can be used for some internet service, even like Airbnb, or it can be used for Fiverr or Upwork. These type of services, and that's really extremely efficient, and the cost close to zero, right? So
Almost like a multi-sig like a B2B multi-sig wallet.
Yeah.
Where, because you're right, because there's been a problem with like subscriptions, I would say, right? Like people, even though they do it every day, where they just put their bank account in somewhere and someone can just hit their bank account. With crypto, it's like we're not there yet because there's no real good way to do it.
Yeah. And the assets are different blockchains. For example, if I'm going to do business with you, your USDT is on Ethereum, but my Bitcoin is on Bitcoin blockchain. So that will be a problem. How can I put my Bitcoin in the smart contract, right? So that would be a problem. So we need to combine all the technology together and provide the first class user experience, so that users, they can use in their daily life.
Yeah, and I would add a little bit more on this, because if we started to talk about user experience, that's my field here, and I would say that everything, when it comes to the experience the users are facing with blockchain in general, just goes under this big umbrella of user experience. And unfortunately, user experience as a field per se is always confused with UI. It's not about crypto and finance in general, but in any other industry, a lot of our designers are saying the same thing. Hey, I talked with somebody and he's asking for a user experience. How do you sell user experience? Per kilo, per meter, whatever, right? So, if we get back to finance, a good user experience for a blockchain company or a crypto finance app, it's not just the user interface you provide. It can be as cute as possible. There are so many good examples in the field of perfectly and great UIs, but in some cases are useless or very, very complicated to be used. User experience, in our view, it's something which combines what DJ said in the beginning, the interoperability, that we provide this way for the people to cross-chain, to roam among different chains. It's also about the labels you provide to the people, because if you say, if you go on any Explorer and you go to an order detail or a transaction details screen, then you get a lot of information which will never be understood by the regular people. So for example, in our case, the order details of a transaction, we simplify it to the minimum possible for the people to get it. You just get the main information, you just get the ID of the transaction, which is the hash, and that's it. And it's also, this is what I'm trying to emphasize, that it's also about the labeling, it's about the features you provide, it's about how you combine those features and how you brand everything to the regular user to get it. Because in the end, it's just about the mental and the conceptual model, how people see a thing and how they understand it and how they use it. Because if somebody never have seen an iPad before, and when you ask that guy, okay, how would you imagine an iPad to be? He can describe it to be a sphere, a circle, a rectangle, doing that and that and that. And when you put the iPad in the face of that guy and say, okay, this is the iPad, this is what it's doing, there is always a mismatch between his mental model about how an iPad could look like and how an actual iPad is. So again, this is a core of what I'm doing at Chainge, and trying to provide this match in between a mental model of how people can perceive blockchain, finance, crypto, and so on, and what we actually offer and how they use it. It's a lot.
Vlad, I'd love to follow that up with a little bit more like on the tactical side of user experience. So like, you know, if you're after mainstream adoption of your application, what does that onboarding experience look like? Is a user having to KYC? Is it, you know, are you normalizing terminology for them? Like, what does that onboarding look like to get the most people in?
Well, right now we are a decentralized application, right? So we are providing decentralized services. So anyone in the world can just create a very simple wallet in Chainge and get to benefit of the financial instruments we provide. So we try to simplify the onboarding to be as short as possible. We still have a little bit of work to be done in there to probably make it even more user-friendly. It can be perfect anytime. So it will be just a continuous process to onboard people and let them know how to use the application and reduce the time spent they spend to get on board with Chainge. And we even provide two kind of accounts for the people, like an expert mode or a beginner mode. Beginner mode means that they don't have to worry about their private keys and so on, while the expert mode provides a way for the people, like a regular way to write down your seed phrase and import into any other wallet. So if you consider yourself to be an expert, then you go to the expert mode and use it that way. Onboarding, in our view, also means what happens after you sign up and after you created your wallet, and the way you use and the way you interact with the financial instruments we have, like the DEX or the escrow, staking, and so on. So we try to take the user through a learning curve as best as we can, and then put the user into the app and provide him more and more insights and more guidance, let's say, to adopt it. Well, we are still a startup, and the user experience we have, it's not 100% perfect, but we strive to improve it as best as we can.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, right now onboarding the app actually takes about 2 minutes, I think. You basically just have to put in your phone number. You have to set up your passcode and you're in. That's it.
So Oana, you've got DJ and Vlad over here saying, "Hey, we're going to go solve interoperability. Simple, right? They're going to go figure that out." But then they come to you and say, "Hey, how are we going to translate this to the world of what we're doing?" And like John and I worked in advertising for a long time. We've got creatively focused team over here. We just did a huge launch with everything, and rebranding is hard. And coming up with a new brand and the voice and the language behind that is hard. How are you thinking about communicating this with the world, going forward?
Well, at the moment, I wouldn't say we already have the interoperability thing solved, because we have about 13 chains integrated in the app. So we do have a very functional interoperable system, which means you can swap from each of the 13 chains that we already have, like from, I don't know, Ethereum to Fusion, or from Fusion to Avalanche, or you can swap between them pretty easily, but we have to add more and more and more, until we reach the hundreds. And having to explain all of this to a first time user, or even to experienced users, has been probably one of the biggest challenges, because for the first time user, it's even difficult to explain how that asset can hop from one chain to another, or what different blockchains mean. You actually have to take them through the whole journey. As for the experienced ones, again, I found a challenge here when communicating with them, because it was hard to explain the tech behind it. The DCRM technology that is provided by Fusion right now is not something simple, or that it just took a bit to develop, or okay, this is just another bridge. It's something that requires really, really technical explanations, and if we go into like a lot of detail, not only we confuse the user, but we kind of like lose their interest. So I kind of had to like find some middle ground between dev talk and dev language, to experienced blockchain, accustomed to bridge users and beginners. So this is like a whole amass of communication channels and different ways of telling it, and us having to reduce it to like one single message was just difficult. Not to mention the fact that there's a lot of projects out there claiming to do the same thing, having the same call to action and the same value proposition. That it's quite difficult for us to say, hey, hello, we actually did this. We're the ones doing this. Look at the app, just try it. It's not like someone's gonna immediately jump on it and say, oh, these are the guys that are actually doing it, because they're accustomed, with the old models, with bridges, and stuff they understand. So yeah, this is definitely something that's still challenging, trying to explain to users what we do in a user-friendly way, but enough to like gain their trust and make them realize the full strength of the technology behind what we're doing.
And what is that
Actually,
one
this is
message?
the debate. Sorry.
I want to know what did you distill it down to?
Well, as of now, I think we have a couple of key messages. We have cross-chain roaming, which means it kind of takes out the bridge part, and we're saying, okay, roaming means that your asset can actually roam from one chain to another. Or in the new website we're just building right now, we actually started calling it chain hop, because you're basically hopping from one chain to the other.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, as you know, we are using the technology provided by Fusion, and this technology was selected by the European Central Bank in their digital assets study book, and this technology actually is really very advanced, so that we can build a kind of cross-chain hop or cross-chain roaming to finish the cross-chain just within 1 minute. So when you look at other cross-chain solutions, it takes maybe 30 minutes, at least 10 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe close to 30 minutes, or even when you are moving large amount of assets from one chain to another, it may take up to maybe 12 hours, right? So, but no matter what's the amount you're trying to move, or in Chainge, you don't need to worry about it. It just to finish within 1 minute, and you can see it when you are checking your cell phone. And then the second thing is we are trying to shift the user's focus from this cross-chain thing to the business itself. For example, the main thing a user need to take care is the business itself. For example, if you are going to trying to do a kind of liquidity mining or liquidity farming in one protocol on one chain, But now you have assets on different chains. For example, you have USDT on Avalanche, on BSC, on Heckle, and on Arbitrum. But now you have an opportunity in Polygon. Then what you need to do is to move. If you are using the traditional cross-chain bridge, you need to move one by one. But here in Chainge, you just click one button, they will all go to Polygon in the background without your notice, and you can just operate it.
I've got a lot of users to send to you, DJ, because I feel like, even with the company that we're running and what we're doing, I still play technical support for like my closest best friends, and they're like, shit, I sent my Matic over to on ERC20. What happened to it? Like, I just lost like $15,000. What do I do? And I'm like, no, it's sitting right there. You're on your BSC wallet right now. You're not even on your Matic wallet, and you just added the wrong, you added the wrong asset or whatever it may be. It's like that. People are trying to do that all day, every day, because APYs are changing by the second.
Yeah, exactly.
New pools are being created in certain places. Now you have so many different chains, and it's like, shoot, the APYs came down over here. I want to move over here. Now I've got to take those assets. I got to hopefully find the bridge, which I think the bridge it's kind of crazy. It's like there doesn't seem to be like any authentication anywhere where that that's the bridge. You're just kind of like finding some sites that say this is it, and it has SSL on it, and it's like, okay, is that the bridge? But I feel like that's like, hopefully I'm not giving it away, but I feel like that would be like the number one scam right now, is just like come up with a fake bridge and it goes to your wallet. But you're solving a huge issue there with regards to kind of, I would say, a little bit more power user, but like someone that has invested a lot of time and money into the industry. I think there's a huge subset of people right now there.
Yeah, that was my problem when I was. Yeah, that was my problem when I was using different DeFi protocols. So I really understand what you're talking about. Yeah, go ahead, Vlad.
Yeah, go ahead, Vlad.
Yeah, and then on top of this, there is another thing which we are working on, and we try to improve it as best as we can. The social component of finance. I mean, at core, we think that finance in general has a social component. Every transaction which happens between two entities, of course, it has a social component. If we look back in history, before money appeared or after that, it needs to be involved at least two parties when you do a transaction, right? So what DJ was sharing before and was mentioning before is that we have a contacts section which allows all Chainge users to actually do and use financial instruments together if they are Chainge users, which means that, for example, soon enough we'll have the decentralized escrow service running on Chainge, and this will allow people to actually build an escrow smart contract without the necessity to go through those all different and super complex operations to set up an escrow using the existing services. You just pick the other party, which is a Chainge user, input something, input the amount, collateral, performance bond, and boom, you have the escrow in. But this is just one example. This could be the core of everything, and we think that the contacts part, the social component in Chainge, could actually lead in the future to some other potential developments around doing finance with friends and with businesses, because you can get connected with businesses which are using Chainge as well. So in those cases, you don't have to worry about inputting wrong addresses, which happens, as you mentioned, Joe, as well. It happens a lot. You just input the wrong address, you send the assets to the wrong address, and boom, that's it. You cannot recover it. So this context part, I think we haven't developed it yet so much, but we think that in the future could play a more significant role of what finance is with Chainge, and how these financial instruments could be used with friends, with businesses, with families, and so on. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it could actually lead to some sort of like a Facebook thing, kind of thing for crypto, because the social component, the fact that we have right now, adding friends to your contact list, and being able to transact with them in a second, not having to worry about picking the chain and all that, not having to worry about the fees, because the fees on the Fusion blockchain are really, really low. These things put together kind of you know serve as a core element for what's to evolve from this, because the next step would be for people to interact and do business, which is the escrow smart contract, which will just launching this month. But then it can be taken even further. You're going to be able to talk to people. You're going to be able to, I don't know, make different type of transactions. Even I'm not even referring to crypto. We can take it much further than that. I think this is really an important part of the application, the sealing module, as we call it, the contact session, that people don't quite understand yet, or they see that they can add friends there, but us having about 40, I don't know, we have about 40 uh, 400,000 users at the moment. It's not
Wow.
like you have that many friends. I don't know, I have 20 friends right now using Chainge, or maybe 30. But in the future, this can be developed in, a section where you have thousands and thousands of friends, and things are just going to be a roller coaster from there.
And
Do you have thousands and thousands of friends, Oana?
Influencer.
Wow.
I have thousands of friends on Facebook. I mean, so.
So you said you have about 40 assets. I guess what's the process of choosing those assets? Is there some sort of demand that you're looking at? What kind of signals are you looking at to add those assets?
Assets, we currently support about 175 assets in the app.
Oh, okay.
75.
I think, yeah.
And we are adding more chains and different assets. Maybe our target is to add around 500 by the end of this year.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
You just got my mind going when you said, Facebook and contacts. And I feel like it's almost more like a physical address, where it's like, if I want to write a check, I know that this company is located at this physical address, or like, when someone's sending a wire, you have to put in an address. And, I'm just thinking about like the point and click smart contract, where it's like, that can go anywhere, right? Like, I want to buy a car, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to put this into an escrow account. I know that Ford or Tesla or whoever it may be, is the person I'm going to pay. Here's the collateral. And while that collateral is maybe sitting there, I'm earning, well, it looks like you guys have 16.18% on USDT right now. I can still earn that while I'm paying for my vehicle or my house or whatever it may be. Or, Chainge and LunarCrush have a contract together, and we're paying you for development services or something like that. And, it's $1 million contract, and it's paid $100,000 a month. Boom, it goes into this. We're being like reviewed. It's like, is that what you guys are thinking a little bit? Like, you can almost like review someone on this, where it's like, hey, LunarCrush pays their bills, or, there's a 4.5 star rating on this specific address, and you don't have to necessarily dox yourself more than just like the name of the company or something maybe. But my mind just went crazy thinking about like, this is the solve for like large payment and like collateralized, like and over collateralized loans. Like, I can't buy a house, if a house in California is $1 million for, a hole in the wall here, I don't, if I make $100,000 a year, maybe I can afford that still with rates today, but I can't pay with that with crypto, because they don't have my identity, and I can't over collateralize. But I think if you guys can pull this off, you're kind of solving that, right?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, we're going to have a basic form of the escrow contract, where you can just, put your money in the escrow, the collateral, and then, the other one as a performance bond. And then you both have the security that, the money does not leave there until, the transaction is done. If it's like services, once the guy delivers the services, you can release the funds, and vice versa. If it's, an OTC trade, once the funds go in, you're going to release them, and so on. These are like basic use cases that we're going to be able to apply right now. But in the future, as we're going to upgrade the escrow contract functionalities, we might as well add ratings, or add different ways for people to even do some more complex transactions, of course. But
the key. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I said this is a bit down the road, but at the moment, even the fact that you have the certainty that when you interact or you want to make like a deal with a perfect stranger, you don't have to worry about trusting him. That's still something pretty amazing, because when you go on Fiverr, and I actually worked on Fiverr quite a lot, and I had my services in branding or copywriting. So they took about, I don't know, 20 or 30% of the seller's earnings.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's crazy. So what we do right now is basically provide the same format as they do. We just don't take that 30% off.
Yeah, it's an insane amount.
Yeah, it is. But this is something that people use because of safety, mainly.
Yeah.
You have the certainty that the money is there, and you're going to get paid, and the client knows he's going to get his service or his product or whatever it is you're selling.
So on the topic of safety, for me, and I know a lot of people get this too, if I go to someone that's maybe not in crypto right now and they're getting 0.003% interest at their bank, and I show them your website and it says that you can earn 16.18% on a stable coin, and the first question is always, yeah, but is it safe? Is my money gonna be there when I need it? How do they give me 16.18% when my bank only gives me 0.003? What do you say to them?
DJ, do you want to cover this, or should I?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, primarily, the Fusion blockchain is probably one of the most secure ones on the market. I mean, the DCRM technology is naturally, I didn't want to say this word, but it's naturally unhackable. We've seen a lot of hacks in the market lately, but this is simply just not going to happen. And people always ask, okay, is this safe? Where are my money? We even have, when the system reboots or we have things like that, and there's like a front end glitch. Oh my God, everyone like tends to freak out about what's happening.
We know that.
Yep.
Like, no, just don't worry. This is decentralized. And what decentralized means is that your money is always on the blockchain. And if you want to see your money, even if, I don't know, some God forbid Chainge team falls off the earth scenario, apocalypse comes, you're going to be able to just import your seed phrase into like some other wallet, and you're going to see your assets are right there, untouched by anyone. We don't control anything. We can steal from you. We can't access your funds. So, basically then they go, okay, but how can I take your word for it? And then, I offered him like this, just read this 300-page Git book, of the Fusion DCRM, security features, and you're gonna find out. But it's very difficult for people to trust this technology, particularly because it's new. When we do like when we used to like send an email to someone, we didn't know if it would arrive. And back in the day, we were like, oh my God, did that email arrive?
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna call him and see if he got my email. But now this is something like so natural that it automatically happens. Basically, that people don't need to know what's happening behind. What kind of systems and complicated connections go behind sending an email, because it's huge what's happening there, or your image on the display. How do you know how that happens? So people are in fact curious because they do have this lack of trust. But aside from like a lot of research and technical reading, there's not much you can do to reassure them, aside from showing them that look, this is the technology, this is how it works, and if you want to do more research, just please do and figure it out, because we can't possibly explain all of the complex security features that we have.
Yeah, security is the first thing we are thinking about when we're trying to build this system. So that's the first priority. And our financial features, actually, they are built on top of the public blockchain, which, just as Oana said, it is decentralized. Some of them, they are built in the smart contract. And the smart contract is audited by the third party like Certic. And the smart contract is also open sourced, which means, everybody can check the smart contract, how it was written, and what's the function for it. And the second, we are also using some technology, even in the blockchain. For example, the time framing. It's not in the it's not in the smart contract, but it's a kind of technology embedded in the public blockchain, which is used to extract the time value out of an assets. And we are using this technology to secure the assets even better than the smart contract. You probably have heard a lot of smart contract, they got hacked, right? And when people, they are putting their money, their assets, just like a deposit in a smart contract, when they are farming, when they are trying to earn some money, actually they are losing the control of the assets. They are they are trying to put the assets in a smart contract. So when the smart contract is hacked, their assets is gone. But we are using the technology like time framing, which means, when you are earning money, your assets is still in your own address. So it's even more secure than the smart contract. So that's how we are building our financial features, different financial features in our Chainge.
TJ, maybe you can explain that a little bit further, where you're saying that the user's not actually sending the assets to the smart contract, they're still holding it, but then how are they, if it's, say I'm on like one of the smart contracts that has some sort of like lockup period for staking or something, if that's where I want to go, how is that function working?
Thank you for asking this question, because this is a very unique design of Fusion public blockchain. It adds a one more parameter in the assets. Usually we have the symbol for the assets and the amount for the assets, but we add the third parameter, which is the time. Each asset, it has a start time and end time. And you can just adjust the start time or the end time for your assets, and trying to split the ownership and the usage of the assets into different places. So which means, you can keep the ownership in your own wallet, but send the usage to another address. So this is a technology we have built, and the users, they can time frame their assets into a kind of futures. And then, which means, you're trying to giving up the usage for a period, then other people, they can use.
Gotcha. So it's like almost like a percentage of the total is actually going to be utilized in that smart contract, but you still kind of are liquid based on a certain percentage of the assets that maybe are not going fully into the smart contract, and you have access to those as long as you put in that parameter of time period.
Yes, exactly. So
wow.
you're still, when you are trying to deposit or you are trying to earn something, you still keep the assets, like starting time is a kind of time point in the future, and at the end time is forever. Then you keep this in your own wallet, and when the time is in place, it is a spot naturally.
Very cool. And Oana's right now just figuring out, like, we just tell the user, put time period in, get money here.
Yes.
No, thank you for going into the weeds a little bit with me on that, because it is there's some nuances there with smart contracts and timing that I think a lot of people might never kind of go into, but you guys are kind of giving them the advantage of that, the staking, and giving them the advantage of that APY in a very cool way while they're still holding control of their assets. So I don't know a lot of people doing that.
Well, pretty much the way we communicate it right now is more than staking. It's basically staking on steroids.
Right.
Because what we offer with time framing basically is flexibility, because you can still use your time framed assets to do a bunch of things. We offer, the extra layer of security, because you still have ownership rights over that certain asset. And we also have the advantage of the quite generous APYs. So we kind of try to explain the time framing concept by using a couple of animations, and showing people how the the asset can actually be split in different period of times, and from now to the end of the year, this is a time framed asset, and at the end of the year, like DJ said, the asset just becomes spot again automatically. You regain full access to your full asset. But of course, this has been quite the struggle, and people still don't understand the abstract notion of time and assets split into time periods. But at the same time, with us doing all of this communication efforts and trying to do all of these animations that explain how the front end part of your asset remains in your wallet and the other one goes there. But what we've noticed lately is, as I was saying earlier, that people simply just stopped caring about what happens behind time framing. What they did was, okay, I time framed this, I paired it up with USDT, and I send it to the USDT versus time framed USDT liquidity pool. And what I get in my wallet is a 100 and something percent APY per year. And they just stopped asking questions, because they see that they get that income each and every day. And while they're learning about the technology and, get reassured by, the volume in liquidity pools, we're currently at about 90 million, I think, 92 million today in total volume locked in liquidity pools. They kind of, started to stop asking questions about the actual tech and started using the functionalities and just benefiting from them. And this is one of the best ways to show people that we are trustworthy and the technology is solid by, having a lot of users using it and being in permanent contact with them. I mean, even if there's questions from users about how things work and stuff, we try, the core team members, we try to the best of our abilities to always keep in touch with them and to reassure them and explain things thoroughly. Although, some may not understand or.
How many folks do you guys have over there on the team?
Well, I think we have nine developers. There's us three. There's the chief marketing officer, Sarah, and I don't know.
Totally 17 people, including Oana and Vlad.
Yeah, it's very interesting to hear you guys talk, because we're about the same size, and we're also, you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of users with customer support. We're the same way. We just had an influx of hundreds of thousands of users over the last week, and it's, you have to start to rely on the community to help you with support, because you're hitting such a critical mass of people. It's like we're gonna have as much customer support as Verizon Wireless soon, and it's like, how do 14 people do the same work as 150,000 people? And it's just a different way to build the community. And so it's like, how are you thinking about that communication and getting community managers to kind of help out with support and becoming, power users of what you're doing? Because you really have to rely on the power users to start helping communicate, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we do rely on, we have a few admins that are basically active in the Telegram group pretty much 24/7. The Telegram group is about 36,000 users. And, basically they're kind of trying to answer all of the questions. But of course, we've seen that, these people kind of tend to repeat the questions, have the same issues. I sent this to the wrong chain. Please help me. I sent this to the wrong address. How do I get it back? We started doing some educational materials on Medium. We have a lot of articles written there, and it's really easy for the admins to send a link, or we have announcements on Twitter, or we have a lot of videos that we've created and animations. We try to simplify the work of the community support admins as much as possible. But all in all, what the team and I have discussed these past few weeks is the fact that people having all of these materials, the informational materials that we provide, the app should actually be an independently usable app, because there's not much that is not I don't know, to the point when it comes to using the app. I don't know if you guys had a chance to use it, but it's super user friendly, and as long as you like go through the materials that we provide, you should be able to use it by yourself. Of course, there might be some questions, which is why we have the Telegram channel. But all in all, we want to reach a point where people will not even need our help anymore. I mean, I know we're always going to have community support. That's for sure. But we want to minimize this as much as possible. And I think Vlad here is doing a great job achieving this by continuously improving the UX on the app. It's just intuitive, and hopefully one day people are just gonna install Chainge and start using it without having to go through any kind of I don't know.
Yeah,
FAQs.
that's the beauty of the blockchain. The marginal cost is really very, very low, even if with only 17 stuff. But we can deal with the business which has more than 90 million US dollar total value locked in, and we have a very huge daily 24 hours daily trading volume as well. So, but the cost doesn't increase when we reach maybe 1 billion or even
Right.
more. So that's the beauty of the public. That's the beauty of the decentralized finance, and we're trying to utilize that to serve more people, to serve more users. Unlike the centralized finance, like centralized institutions, when business increases, their cost increases as well.
Yeah, this is not something that's going to be applied here for sure. So yeah, basically just like sum up everything that we've just like talked about. If you guys want to try the Chainge app, what you're going to find there is basically what we're trying to build is the home of DeFi. You're going to have like a decentralized application, and you're going to find in there the conglomerate of services that you need to do, like anything from staking to adding to liquidity pools, to swapping, to cross-chain roaming, adding friends on C-Link, creating smart escrow contracts. And this is just the beginning. This app is meant to basically just serve any user that's interested in getting on the DeFi train, and
Yeah.
helping him do all the things that he needs in one place. Because now we feel that there's like this breakage, this rupture in services, that you have to go there to have this service, you have to go there to like do liquidity mining, you have to go to bridges and centralized exchanges to try and move an asset from one chain to the other, while in the Chainge app you can do all of these, and it takes a couple of minutes. That's
And
basically.
since you mentioned about, Oana, since you mentioned about the home of DeFi and our website, we are currently, our existing website, it's a little bit outdated.
It's
looking good, but it was used back in the beginning of the year to actually start onboarding the first set of users. We are going to release a new version soon, so just a heads up.
No, I think it's still holding the test of time. I think it looks good. I'm definitely going to steal your verbiage for cross-chain roaming, though. I think that's like such a great, like everyone already knows like the word roam, like roaming with like a phone. So they kind of I think know what that means. I think it's a great term.
Yeah,
John, we lost you for a second, but I think we're kind of winding up on the hour here, guys. But thank you guys so much for coming on here and teaching us a little bit about Chainge. I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm going to keep track of everything that's going on, and definitely kind of send this along to some of my friends, because I think that it's solving a very, unique problem in the space, and you guys are ahead of your time. So where do people go to find you guys? Like, how do they follow you guys on Twitter? What do they need to do to get involved?
Well, we have the Twitter account, which is at Finance Chainge. We also have a global Telegram community, which is a global finance change, or you just write that in there, you can easily find it. We have our YouTube, which is Change Finance, or you can even go to our new website, but starting next week when we're actually going to have it, which is change.finance. And of course, the application is available to download both on the Play Store and the App Store. So, you guys can give it a try. Tell us what you think of the app and give us some feedback on CrushChain.
Cool. Awesome, you guys. Well, DJ, Vlad, Oana, and then John, as always, thank you guys all for being a part of it. We'll chat with you backstage. And thank you, everyone in the audience, for listening. This is on YouTube, Twitter. It'll be on all the podcast networks that we've got here very shortly. So thank you all.